Okay. What I wanted to talk about today was not just politics, because there's a lot of people with a lot more knowledge about that, and it's talked about everywhere. So there's not a lot that we can add to the conversation. But I want to talk about something specific that I've thought about for a while, and that is that when you talk to somebody about politics and they say something, something, you say, what the hell? What's this guy thinking? But you wonder how he can have such different views. And I've wondered if it's like, can you break it down into like they like a certain thing, and you say, well, okay, why do you like that? Is it what are your core values that do our core values differ from mine so much? Is it that your values differ, or that we're starting from the same place and that how to get there, how you think that you get there, that differs? So, like, you could talk to somebody and say, "Oh, don't. All right, let's start at the beginning. Do you think that the goal of life is to be happy?" And they might say, "No, I think that the goal of life is to serve God, and that happiness comes in the afterlife. So it doesn't matter if people are happy now, as long as you're following God." So that right there, that's a non-starter to begin with, because you're not even like on the same page to begin with. So, like, are there certain fundamental, I guess it goes into psychology as well, like beliefs and like personality traits that like the axioms of math, where it's the the basis that everything comes from, that you can attribute all the differences in politics to, like being conservative or liberal. Can you say, talk to a conservative or something and say, do you believe that everybody should have equal opportunities or something? Or is that a fundamental thing? Or can you break that down further into something else and say, do you believe this or that? You know what I'm saying?
Yes, I do.
So, do you believe that other people should have the opportunities that you do, or do you think that uh, that given that you have to give up some of your opportunities or happiness for other people to be happy, you don't think that you would rather like you be as happy as possible at the expense of anybody, and then if there's anything left over, then they can have whatever happiness they have? Or maybe you're very cynical and think, well, no, I want to be as happy as possible, and I want people to be even less happy as possible, or something. I don't know. What do you think are the fundamental differences that give rise to political differences?
It's a very good
Belief
question.
in compassion to other people, maybe the like feeling like uh, how you. I don't know. Is compassion to other people fundamental to political differences? Do you think like some people don't think other people should don't care as much about other people? Maybe some people care more about themselves than other people, and some people care more about other people, and that one thing leads to all the other differences in politics and how people think the world should be.
Okay. Sass, did you want to
I think that
go ahead? Go ahead, Sass.
I want to. He got me thinking about like I think there's a lot of people that like to identify with groups, and then there's a significant minority that don't want to identify with groups, that want to just have have their own sort of set of values that not necessarily associated with any identifiable group. And I think that those, what do you call it, those sort of camps, people that like to identify with groups and those that really prefer not to, that sort of defines the venue that you're talking about. It's not so much about values that sort of define the camps, it's more the other way around. It's the camps that define the values. And
like what? What's an
like
example
if you
of
identify
a camp?
yourself as a Catholic, like my mom, if you identify yourself as a Catholic, then they have a certain beliefs. And then if you identify yourself as an atheist, like an atheist, an advocate for atheism, you're gonna identify with that group, and you're gonna be a proponent of that group. And then there's gonna be certain situations where you're gonna want to identify with that group and push it and promote it.
Are there other groups besides religious groups that you're thinking of? Or are you talking about just religions, like whatever religion you identify with?
No, I mean it could be trade groups. It could be like union. It could be any kind of thing, like even work related groups, like union groups. It could be anything.
Yeah, but I can't think of any group besides like a religious group that would influence your own own opinions. Whereas you usually join a group that would conform to your opinions to begin with, not the other way around. You wouldn't join a group and then they would form your opinions. Jobs,
different times in my life, I had union jobs and non-union jobs, and the union jobs were totally like kind of different atmosphere. And we're expected to have solidarity and a certain kind of work ethic associated with the union, and so it can be really strong in certain situations and kind of weak in other situations. So it's not like, it's like, so
that would change your behavior. I think like the peer pressure or the culture would like affect how you acted and things, but I don't think it would really influence your opinion on things or your core beliefs that would, change your political views. Religion might, like if you followed religion, I think, and the church says they're against abortion, then
I just felt tremendous pressure when I was union, in a union shop or however you want to express it. Tremendous pressure to sort of conform to the union mode.
Yeah, I understand that.
Yeah. And
that
so that became an overriding. There was a religious guy on the staff, and so he didn't really care so much about the union as much as he cared about adhering to his religious beliefs. And so, he sort of stayed out of, we call it like office politics or anything relating to the union that even come anywhere near to conflict with his religious values. So so there was people that felt so strongly about the union they put everything else aside. When we're at work, we've got to focus on work. But if we're union work, then we focus on union values. So it's like it really, really depends on the venue of what you're talking about and the groups that you're adhering to. So it's not necessarily religious groups. It could be, like I said, it could be work-related, like a union, and then you end up putting the values of the group ahead of your own. Because why? Because you're not really trying to conform, but you want to. If work is really important to you, you want to be doing that. Like, what do you call it? If that's number one in your life, then you want it, and you believe in the union. We call it values. You're gonna like become a union steward, and you're gonna do your fight for union rights and all this stuff. So there's a lot of really depends on the venue, and like I said, I still think it's not about the your personal values defining what camp you belong to or what you. I think it's more the other way around. It's like you decide what group you feel like you belong to, and then those values of the group define your attitudes and behaviors.
Yeah,
And
but even outside of groups, like especially religious groups, which I can understand would influence people, but even like two atheists might have different political views. So why do they have different political views? Do they view, like I said, do they view the goals of life differently? Do they view the how they feel about other people, like compassion? Do they have different levels of compassion, or like what is the basic difference that gives rise to those other political differences?
I think you're asking the question about just like human nature. Why are we so individualistic? Am I oversimplifying your question?
Not why, but not why are we different or individualistic, but how? What's the fundamental difference that you can distill
You mean
down
the
and
cause?
say
Why
the
we're
cause of
no?
political differences? Exactly, the cause of political differences from a individual psychological or behavioral perspective.
You know, I've
What
watched
is
so
the
many.
fundamental?
Jimmy's had me watch so many different. You know, used to a long time ago. Jimmy had me watching like art films, and so I really got into all the different art films that he would send me. I would watch every single one and sort of analyze it, maybe 2 or 3 times. I don't know. It just depends on the film. And now
And
he
now
has
you
me
like
watch.
Trump, so there you go.
No, 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 no. Hold off. I mean, my brother accuses me of that too. It's not so true. You can't pigeonhole me on that one, bitch. No, no, no. What were we talking about before this? About why people have the differences and political differences. Extreme sort of extremism sometimes. Let me finish the story about what Jimmy. Now, instead of art films, he has me watching recently these political debates and shit. And I feel like half the time is like a waste of my time because it's just so inane. So all they're like arguing about details of what do you call it, like definitions of words and shit. You know, instead of like, why do you feel this way? And why, if that would, you know, if you ask me why do you feel this way, I could easily explain that. But they're asking you like, what's your definition of this, and why we can't see that they can't even talk because they can't even agree on definitions. It's just so nonsensical. Some of these discussions that he has me watch, like there's like he brought up in a previous.
That makes me think of another point, like racism, and that's a big factor in political differences. Does racism fall under the category of compassion and what I was talking about before about how you feel about other people? Is it all depend on what you see, what your vision of your own future is, or does it depend a lot on what you think other people should be doing? Like, is it all what percent of your political views depend on what you want for yourself, and what percent depend on what you want other people to be doing? Like for me personally, I don't care what anybody else does. Well, I would like other people to be prosperous and happy, but I don't care if they're whatever, homosexual or anything like that, or whatever they do. Doesn't matter, or race or whatever. So it doesn't really factor in. So for me, it's more like a vision of future that I would be living in, and how would it affect me. That's what I would base my political views on. But other people might think differently. They might be racist or something, and they think, well, I don't know. I think racism also breaks down into other fundamental components, like about your own. Maybe it relates back to your own future. Like you think that maybe the reason for racism is that you think that other people will take your happiness away. So it comes back to your own happiness rather than, fundamentally, I don't think there's many people that truly want other people to be miserable just because it makes them happy.
Well, but there's
probably
actually,
a few.
I think there's a significant minority of people that enjoy the misfortune of others. Like in this game that you introduced me to, EVE Online, there's a lot of people that seem to like to watch other people squirm. They seem to take pleasure from watching or putting other people.
But like I said, I think that goes back to their own, to themselves more than the other people. Like, it's not just about the other people and themselves. It's that it makes them feel better. Or, like I said, like racism, I think, is because other people feel like it's going to hurt their happiness or something if other people succeed, something like that. So I don't think it's like fundamentally, like if somebody had everything they wanted and they were in some utopia, nirvana somewhere, like didn't have to worry about anything, and there were some people that they never had to deal with, like on another planet or something, and they had nothing to do with them. How many of those people would think, oh well, I'm never gonna, they're so many light years away, I'll never even see them for the lifetime of my the universe, will never even be able to meet, so it doesn't have anything to do with me at all, and yet I still want those people to be miserable. I don't think there's many people that would say that. I think it's only the things that would end up affecting you is the reason that people feel that way about other people. If it was just like I said, like an isolated, had nothing to do, could never have anything to do with you, I don't think there's very many people would say, I hope those people are miserable. Do you think there's many people who would say that?
I think there's a lot of.
What about you, Dimmy? You haven't said anything.
Yeah, I don't want to interrupt. You guys are doing great, and right now I'm trying to help Pete get on here. So, yeah, I'll jump in later. It's going good. Keep going. Thanks, guys.
Oh, what a cop-out.
No, it's not a cop-out. I'm typing to Pete right now. The guy's having problems getting on. I'm gonna join a group against you, sucker. Sass,
okay.
Let's gang up on that piece of filth. It's gonna be a politics of me and Sassy. All right.
Let's talk about how great Trump is.
Yeah, I don't know, man. I don't want to say anything.
You start, Sam.
I won't be able to laugh then.
I think we should make a collection. Everywhere we go is like carry around a bucket or a cup or maybe a plastic cup and ask for like money to build the wall. Being sarcastic.
Yeah, I heard an interesting thing that he wasn't expecting Mexico to give us money or to pay for it directly. He's talking about taxing remittances of Mexicans living in the U.S. that send money back to Mexico, which actually, when I heard that, I thought, oh, well, that's actually not a bad idea. But it probably wouldn't work like in reality. They'd probably find ways around it. If they started taxing the remittances, they'd probably find a different way to move the money. I've always been surprised at the way people can move money around like that anyway. Like you move to another country and you just work there and then send all the money home. I would think that'd be a problem for a lot of governments, but I've never heard of any government doing anything about it or being able to do anything about it. Maybe you can't do anything because it's too hard to trace or something. Do you want the wall, Sam?
I think a wall is inhuman and against, they call it against.
So you're not for that policy. What things about Trump do you like?
His belief that he can make America great again is a great belief. It's just, I always keep telling Mom and everybody else, my daughter included, that there's a lot of really cool ideas on this planet, a lot of beautiful ideas, but it's how you implement them can be messed up. So
what politician doesn't have that? Like, even if they don't say it, what politician wouldn't want to make America great again, assuming it's not great anymore?
You got a good point there, but the thing is, he seems to. And I'm not trying to say like a trade war with China. What do you call it? I'm not trying to say. A trade war with China is better than a military war with, say, Iran, right? Don't you think? I mean, wouldn't you prefer a trade war with, if you had to have one or the other, wouldn't a trade war with China be better than a military war with Iran?
Okay. I'll say yes. Okay.
So, I mean, and when he thinks that he can do, like, with the North Koreans, he can finagle some kind of, who knows what kind of things he's agreeing to behind closed doors, like with Putin. And, I mean, he seems to be buddies with everybody. I mean, it's probably making business deals with everybody. Who knows? Who knows what he's doing? So that everybody wins behind closed door. And I mean, I'm just saying, any kind of agreement that he makes, he's doing for selfish reasons. He's pretending like, oh, we're going to make America great again, but it's really obviously for selfish reasons. Building a wall, he probably has got, he's probably got construction companies up the wazoo, and he wants to make those construction companies wealthy by, the contracts, the construction contracts. So
well, everything you're saying so far is negative, but I thought you were in favor of Trump before.
Well, I mean, compared to Bush.
Oh well.
I mean, it depends on who you're comparing him to. If you're
to anybody else,
compare him to Jimmy Carter, he sucks. Jimmy Carter personally tried to build homes, with his hands, man. He tried to build homes for people. And, I mean, there's a lot of really cool things that Jimmy Carter did. For one thing, he's a nuclear engineer. That's just cool by itself. Another thing is he's a people person, and I think he helped housing for humanity. So if you compare, say, Trump against Bush, Trump wins. But if you compare Trump against Jimmy Carter, no, he doesn't. So it really depends on who you're comparing him against. You can't just.
And Carter had big feet too.
I don't know. I never slept with him, so I don't know.
He has bigger feet than Trump.
I don't know, man.
Who are you going to vote for next time?
Well, I didn't vote for Trump. I wasn't registered. I wasn't registered in the area at the time of voting, so I never. Everybody, Paul, my brother, assumes that I voted for Trump. I didn't because I wasn't registered at the time. So I didn't actually vote for him. Although I keep saying my dad. I think my dad, because my dad always used to say, we need a businessman in the White House, someone who runs the federal government like a business. And that's
and Trump's not really a good businessman. That's the problem.
Well, and also Paul says that Dad would have said, yeah, but not Trump. exactly what you said, just said right now.
Yeah, he's a horrible businessman. Look how many times he's gone bankrupt, and look how bad his companies have performed.
Yeah, I don't know, man. It's really hard.
I said when Obama got elected, I said the only good thing about Bush was that he was so bad that it allowed somebody like Obama, to get elected. And I think the same thing's going to happen now. Trump is so bad that it's going to allow somebody good to get elected, like Bernie Sanders. I think Bernie Sanders is like the type of liberal that Obama promised to be, but didn't end up being.
I think what's going to happen is some African-American woman is going to be the first lady president. You know, there's a lot of chicks running for office right now, and I think it's going to happen. And it's probably
broads. Call them broads, not chicks. A lot of broads running for.
I don't know, man. I think half the conversation is non-PC anyway. So who cares? In the game that you recommended that you seem to have no time for, my character he's Asian, but he's got a goatee like me. So I'm a gook in the game. I'm a gook in the game. But I'm a cracker mook in real life. So who cares what we call each other, chick or broad, mook, gook, or spook? Who the fuck cares what we call each other? It's all, huh? Ooh, don't get me started on fucking labels, man. We can go all night on labels. All night on labels. Oops,
what's happened to Timmy?
No, I'm here.
Have you heard that expression? I think it's something out of Reservoir Dogs.
I'm just waiting for a chance I'm just waiting for a chance to speak. So let me know when you want me to speak, and I'm also trying to help Pete get online. So
we want you to speak now.
Okay.
Yeah.
I will go back to the original thing, and that was what makes people vary in politics. I think that everything, of course, starts with the individual. Right. And how can an individual gain power? Well, they need to band and become tribal with other individuals. So they try to find common bonds like surviving, and of course there could be, even within that tribal group, there could be the king, whoever comes out on top, whether they're democratically elected or they just start ripping people's heads off, and then people start fearing them. So by whatever means necessary. So I think it's an individual trying to survive and become powerful with whatever means they need to. So, and everything I think that we've spoken about, or you guys have spoken about so far, tells me that it's just all tribalism. It's all people trying to band together to get whatever they can for themselves, as much as they can for themselves.
But do you think the focus of the tribe, or the culture of the tribe, is what? Like, does somebody join that tribe because they conform to their own beliefs, or does the tribe change the beliefs of the individuals?
First of all, it's all, like I said, it's all about power. It's all about surviving at first. So you come together, you have, you know each other, you form certain cultures and certain things. You live together. There's certain rituals that you engage in. There's certain traditions, customs. So I think first it's all about, what you're comfortable with. And so you form this group together, this commonality, and you feel a bond with it. There's nothing wrong with it. I mean, that's it. That's your group. That's the people you're with, that who you've lived with, who survived with. Then you come into contact with other groups, and you do the best you can. I mean, you're either going to fight them or you're going to form an alliance, maybe trade and barter. Um, you may amalgamate. I mean, you may become a bigger nation. Um, you can be a confederate nation where you have your own cultural identities and you live side by side peacefully, or you might get aggressive occasionally. Now, the group, I think the group will. I think the group influences the individual too much. In fact, um, because you have all this pride. Oh, my group did this. So what? What did you do as an individual? That's what really matters. You as an individual, what do you do? Because what the group does, you know, why would you take any credit in that? I mean, it's ridiculous. I have no stake in what anyone else has done. You know, I think it's great for them, great for the individual. I think the whole group thing is bullshit. Anyways,
But like, for instance, racism. Do you think that's um, because of like the groups you're in make you racist, or do you think people are racist to begin with and
well,
then
there can
join a
be
racist group?
groups within groups too. You know, there can be groups within groups. So racism is just another way to identify. It's what we call, you know, the identity politics that everyone talks about. There's all sorts of identity politics going on. You know, even identity groups within groups is what's going on here. Um, the thing, it's all bullshit. The key is the individual, and to maximize every individual's happiness as much as possible. We live in a society, so we live with other people, so we're restricted to what we can do because what we do affects everyone else in the world.
Well, let
I
me
don't know.
go back to what I was talking about to begin with. So, from your perspective of what you just said, if you meet somebody who has like completely different political views and they think, oh, yeah, we should build this wall and we should ban immigrants or whatever, and you think, oh, that's a stupid idea because, you know, and then maybe you argue on the merits of that itself. You say, okay, look, well, immigrants like contribute to the economy here, and they're not like, you know, they're not causing crime or something, or you know, you argue based on the facts, but it still doesn't reconcile the fundamental difference of why do they believe that there should be a wall and no immigration or whatever. Can you, you know, assuming that person has reason and can reason rather than just an emotional argument, what basis can you break it down to and say, okay, well, look, do you believe that, you know, that everybody is entitled to the same level of happiness or something, or the same opportunities? And they say yes or no. If they say yes, well, then it's a matter of proceeding from there to how you achieve that. And then you can discuss whether you think those policies are the way to achieve that, or why not. But
I don't think there's a lot.
I don't think you can get that far with most people, because it probably doesn't go beyond factual argument very far before you start getting like an emotional argument about how you feel things should be. Go, Seth.
I'm trying to get Pete on, so go ahead, guys.
What were you going to say?
I don't think there's a lot. There's a few. I think it might. You know, we call it tremendous amount of eclecticism out there. I mean, I thought I'm not the only one that's eclectic in his values and his perceptions and his taste. You know, I have eclectic everything, but I'm not the only one. There's a lot of people like that with, you know, different sets of values and perceptions and tastes about a lot of different things, whether it's movies or food. You know, it's a lot of eclectic people out there, and you can't just put everybody in a bucket and expect them to have a certain attitude simply because they adhere to a certain, like Demi was saying, a certain tribe. You know, if we go back to the jungle days when we're hunter gatherers, if there's such a thing as racial memories or past lives and stuff, I was like always trying to be the medicine man or the, what do you call it, the
shaman.
Yeah, the group shaman. Why? And I'm explaining this to my mom recently because if you're useful and you provide a function, they will put their lives on the line for you. Why? Because you're valuable to the group. And if you're the group healer, or you're like you function as a midwife, you know, you have a lot of different functions for the group. Valuable to the group, they will hunt and gather for you, and you're busy finding recipes, you know, to cure diseases and shit. So, like I said, if there is such a thing as past lives, I'm trying to make myself indispensable to the group, and so that I take care of them and they take care of me. And
Jesus, sorry.
What's the matter, Danny?
Pete's having problems getting on, and it's freaking. I can't concentrate on what you guys are saying.
Do the same thing that you did for me. Give him.
I did. I tried everything.
Well, he's got to use the Gmail. What do you call it? The.
I did.
Oh.
I just forget about it because this is annoying.
He has Hangouts working on his device.
Yeah, I even saw him in on Hangouts. So.
Huh. That's strange. But it's strange.
All right. Jesus Christ. All right. All right, good job, man. That was good. A lot of good ideas. I think Pete's on now? Maybe. Maybe not.
Maybe not.
Okay.
I think he is.
So so have we formed any type of like conclusion so far, like some type of summary?
Well,
or
let's
anything?
say. Well, just as an example, let's say you're like a politician or something. You're in Congress and you're trying to pass a bill, or you're debating a bill or something, and you go to somebody else, and they have different views, and say it's let's talk about gun control or something, and you think one way, somebody else thinks another, and then you go over to their office and you try to convince them. On what basis? I mean, are you going to talk about like the people that get killed by it every year? Are you going to talk about like the freedom?
I wish you wouldn't have picked that topic. It's so controversial, man.
Well, that's right. But why is it controversial? That's the whole point of what I started talking about. Is why is it? It's not in and of itself. It's not just guns by itself. There's something underneath, huh?
Let me give you a good for instance about how provocative that whole concept. I mean, that whole set of concepts. When I used to date this girl in Michigan. Jimmy knows who I'm talking about. And at one point, they told me this story. Her and her mom and her friend, her gay, I don't know, something like that. Maybe not a gay friend. anyways, her and her mom and somebody else, three women asked me or told me this story about someone who was raped in broad daylight at a nearby grocery store. And I think they were telling me the story to see my reaction. Like, do I have a rapist mentality? In other words, it was a kind of test. They were trying to describe this, I think that it really did happen. But
they're rape baiting you.
Well, no, it sounded like some politician's son got away with rape because he's the politician's son. That's what it sounded like. And I said, my reaction to the story was like, I would kill the guy. I don't care if he's a politician's son. I would just kill the guy. Like a vigilante kind of thing. Vigilante killing. And it shut them up. But it made me wonder why they brought it up in the first place. I felt like they were trying to test me. They were curious what I was going to say about this situation.
Yeah, and what's this got to do with gun control?
Because the topic is so emotionally volatile. It's just like if I tell you,
why?
What do you think about?
Why is it so emotionally volatile? Is it people feel like, I don't know, do they really feel like they need protection, personal protection? Is it just the freedom to own guns? What about the freedom to own other things that you can't, like high explosives or something? Why don't people argue about that they complain about not being able to own bombs or something? Why is that freedom okay to limit? You can use bombs for personal protection. You throw a hand grenade at somebody. Why can't you own hand grenades?
This is a story, a related story that I came up with some decades ago to sort of illustrate a point about, and it really relates to nuclear disarmament or the other alternatives. Right? So let's imagine you live in a town, in a village, where only one guy has the gun, but he's not really the sheriff. He's just a private landowner, someone in the village, but everyone's kind of afraid because he's the only one who has the gun, and they don't really trust him like a sheriff. So what do we do?
You get together and take his gun away.
That's wrong. That's immoral.
Why?
That's infringing on his personal rights, his personal freedom.
Yeah, for the greater good. It's for the protection of everyone.
I didn't say in the village whether personal gun ownership was legal or not legal. You just assume that the group has the right to take over this guy's life. Why is that? Why do you think that?
Well, because he's a threat to them. If they don't trust him with a gun, and he's like using it to threaten them or something.
Why don't we give everybody a gun? Why don't we give everybody a gun in the village? That way they can be put at
and they can shoot each other. Well, what would that solve? What are they going to do with their guns? They're going to solve problems with them? Or just protect themselves from other people's guns? If they're going to protect themselves from other people's guns, then you just take that one guy's gun away and you don't have to worry about it. You don't have the problem. And then you don't have all the other associated problems with everybody having guns.
So let's change it to chewing gum or smoking tobacco or having sex with minors. I mean, you're saying that the group should have the authority over an individual regardless of the topic, whether it's gun ownership or...
I'm saying where's the dividing line? Why does it end at guns? Why can't you have hand grenades? Why can't people have hand grenades? Why aren't people protesting that they can't own hand grenades?
I think you're
protection. I mean, if somebody came into your house and you threw a hand grenade at them, you'd be problem solved. Why can't you have hand grenades? What's wrong with that?
Kind of messy. They can explode in 360 radius.
Well, tobacco causes cancer. So why can people have that? Why don't you ban that from them? Because it causes cancer.
It took decades. It took decades to legislate against, locally and bigger federally against secondhand smoke. Decades to legislate against. Decades for things to change. Yeah. So why would you expect anything to change more rapidly for anything else?
Well, I'm not expecting them to change. I'm not talking about whether they're going to change or whatever. I'm just talking about in the philosophical argument of should they or should they not, or why do people feel that way so strongly about that? Why do people feel so strongly about owning guns? And not other things. Like I said, like there's all kinds of things you can't own. Why aren't they worried about that? I mean, I get upset that I can't, you can't buy alcohol, pure alcohol in the drugstore because you have to buy denatured alcohol, which is like alcohol so useful that you can't.
They're afraid consume it.
Yeah, of course.
So there's certain kinds of alcohol or some things that they make it so that you can't. What do you call it? Oh God, what is it? There's some products that
abuse
they
it?
Deliberately. Yeah, they deliberately modify.
It's called denatured alcohol. They color it purple and they put like poison in it.
You know about whippets?
Yeah.
Nitrous oxide.
Nitrous oxide.
Same kind of thing.
Why did they change those? Did they put something in it so you can't breathe it?
I mean, they modify it so that it hurts you if you use it as laughing gas.
Jesus fuck.
Something like that.
Oh, okay.
Alcohol. I mean, there's a lot of different things that do.
Yeah. The point is, there's a lot of things they won't let you own. And I don't see people up in arms about that. Probably tradition, like the fact that you could do it before. Like if you could never own guns, it probably wouldn't be an issue. People wouldn't be out there screaming that I want to own a gun. I've never had one, but I really want one. And I think everybody should have guns so that we can protect ourselves against each other. I don't think you'd ever have that. I think probably goes back to that tribal thing what Jimmy was talking about. Like it's a cultural legacy.
Just not that there are so many guns now in America. It's messed up, man.
In Australia, when I first came here, there was a big shooting in this tourist place. It was like a early convict settlement that people used to go to. It was a very popular tourist place. And this guy went there with a gun and started shooting everybody that was walking around there. I visited there a couple of years ago. Anyway, after that episode, they brought in some very strict legislation against gun ownership. And they didn't have the kind of opposition that they have over there. And now people can own guns. You can, there's shooting ranges here, even in Alice Springs. I think you have to keep your gun at the shooting range or something. So I don't know. I don't think you can keep it at home. But there was one guy I used to work with that had a gun. I don't know where he used to keep it because he used to go to he used to go to the sewer ponds and shoot wild cats.
I'll be back. I have to go for a bit.
So anyway, and farmers have guns to kill pests or whatever.
Yeah, I think
I don't know. People have guns when they need them, and it's not illegal. But on the ordinary people, very, very rare for somebody to have a gun here. So it's a whole different culture thing, and you don't have people like screaming that they want to own guns. So it probably is a significant cultural influence on that particular topic.
There's
I
a
know
chick
about other things.
a young lady that I listen to. I forget. She's Australian, and she talked about gun control versus Australian versus American, and she did a pretty good job of discussing why you guys have the values that you do and why they're different from American values relating to gun ownership. So it's what the fuck?
What's that?
God damn.
The aliens have finally landed.
No, I'm just getting hammered by this guy. His range is really good.
What's he shooting you with laser beams?
No, he's doing long range. Huh? Let me see. Hard to see.
Photon torpedoes.
No, you're right. It is lasers.
Anyway, back to the discussion. What were you going to say?
That I don't know. I kind of lost my train of thought. But I wish you would have picked something else to talk about. I mean, it's the issue is so complex, and I mean, I would have preferred you to talk about nuclear weapons and national sovereignty. I think I would have enjoyed that discussion a lot more.
I'm not talking about that in particular. The whole topic was just the source of political differences. So you could use any example if you want. You want to talk about nuclear disarmament or whatever.
You asked like why people like French fries versus baked potatoes. I mean, what's the difference? I don't understand why it would be any different.
Well, so you're saying it's just a personal choice, personal differences, and you can't really attribute it to anything.
One of the guys that Jimmy's listens to, I forget his name, but he's one of Jimmy's favorite people to listen to. I think he said his belief is that we don't choose our beliefs. His belief is that we just believe what we believe, and there's no choice in the. And I'm like the totally other way, the other opinion. I believe we choose everything, and it really depends on how you see things. And this guy is hammering me. I don't have any armor repair right now. I'm testing out what we call this inertia modifier. My first time to test out this inertia. First time to sort of hear about it.
Have you started mining yet?
Oh, I did mining many weeks ago. But it gets really tiresome.
There, you got out of the business.
No, I mean there's this thing called gas mining, and it depends on what if you're gas mining, you can make supposedly 20 million a pop, and if you're doing this other kind of this normal mining, it's like you're lucky if you get 1 million, and the asteroids run out of ore really fast, and you just sometimes you got to pay attention. Like pirates will jump on you at unexpected moments. It really depends on the venue. But fuck my shield! I gotta have an armor repair. I replaced an armor repairer with a inertia modifier, and it's just inertial stabilizer. It's not really stupid.
So what are you doing in the game now? Like, if you're not mining, are you fighting people? Are you flying around, or what are you doing?
Well, I'm working for the Navy, like a private security firm, working for the Navy, contracted for the Federal Navy.
Yeah, do you have to
That's
fight
right.
people, or you just like keep an eye
So
out for
you fight
intruders?
more than you fight, not people, not real people, this computer-generated enemy, and they send like 20 to 30 against you at a time, and you got to figure out strategy how to overcome a fleet of enemy ships and shit. So it's
Oh, really? They have
warp
those
within zero.
this what are those things called in games where they're the computer generated things? The
I call them bots.
It's a
but the
three
other
letter
people call
what?
I call them bots. Other people call them rats.
No, there's three. It's a general term. It's a 3-letter abbreviation for
NPC, non-player
what?
character.
Yeah,
NPC,
yeah. And what is it?
NPC, non-player character.
That's it. Yeah, I didn't know they had NPCs in that game. I thought it was all other players.
Fuck, that's all. No, that's all I do is NPCs. I don't.
Really?
You know,
But what's all this
all I
stuff
do is
about the economics and stuff and trading with people? Do you trade with NPCs
well,
as well?
yeah. There's what do you call it? It is market based. I mean, everything that I sell in the game is market based. I mean, it depends on the demand. What do you call it? Demands of other people and the like
Other
I've been
players.
getting these general dog. The highest value item I get from the what I call pirate booty. Like if you loot an NPC ship, you get what I call pirate booty, and that pirate booty can go up to 2.5 million game credits, and it's for just general dog tags. That's it. A set of dog tags. You know, like what do you call it? What's it called in real life? What's it called?
tag.
The military ID. Dog tag.
Yeah,
Anyways,
dog tag. That's the military term.
And that's the highest value item so far has been like around 2.5 million game credits. But you got to remember a game credit, huh? It's about the exchange rate is 1 million per penny. What is it? I got a calculator. Hold on a second. What's 800 divided by 10? I'm sorry, hold on a second.
Could this be it? Hello?
Yeah, that's it. That's it.
There we go.
You're here.
Finally.
There we go.
Yay!
All right. What did I miss?
Well, that just about wraps it up. Let's go now.
Such great timing. Figures.
Hey, bye. See you, Doug. Later.
Okay. Yep.
Oh my god. I suck.
Okay.
Hey,
Let's
Pete.
start over.
Hey,
Now
what's
that
going
we
on?
know what we're talking about, we can start over and then
Pete,
have
I'm
an
Sam.
idea of what.
Alrighty. I just pulled up at the house. I had a class from 8 to 10, and then afterward I went to my parents' house so I could raid their fridge because I, like all Greek men, I don't know how to cook at all. So I went and ate over there, and
Your uncle knows
Yeah.
how to-
and then I was trying to figure this thing out. So now, if I can figure out how to hold my books and my keys and the phone at the same time, I'll be pretty talented. All right, here we go. Here we go. Use an optimization algorithm to make as few trips as possible back and forth to the car. 1, 2. Okay, I did it in 3. Not bad. So what's the topic of discussion that we are discussing today?
It's talking about the
You there,
exchange rate of game credits to U.S. pennies. 80,000 Icelandic kroners in the game is 1 penny.
So can you get
About
actual
100,000.
real money for it?
Yes, they have a Chinese Chinese server that will change it for you, but you get banned. If you get found out, you're going to get banned. So be prepared to lose your account.
So it's not sanctioned.
No, they're totally, it's a bannable account.
They should have games
That's
that have
cool.
real money in them. I bet that would bring in a lot of players.
Well, there's somebody who asked about it online, at least one person that I read, like forum type.
What?
There's a lot of reasons. They think a lot of the players think that it would ruin the game if that was the case.
Oh.
And it's not just the game, not just the game promoters, not just the game owners that think that. There's a lot of players that think that.
Because some people have a lot more money to spend than others.
But what about a completely different game that was based on real money from the start? And if you were good enough, you could make money from it. That would be a game player's dream.
You still need money to start. You still need money to start, right?
Yeah, people would pay money to play it, and if you weren't any good, you wouldn't get any money back. But if you were good,
you're excluding a lot of people who don't have enough money to play.
Yeah, well, I'm talking about like a few dollars or something. A few dollars you could play for a few days or whatever. And if you got enough players, then you get significant money.
Huh.
Yeah, yep. That would be a great idea.
It would kind of be like an arcade, but that also pays out, I guess.
Right. Yeah.
Which would be like a casino, I guess. No.
It would. It'd be, I guess, online poker is similar. You know, people come in and they play, and some people win, some people lose. But instead of poker,
think it'd be cool.
Some kind of a video game.
Yeah.
And it would be addictive. You know, even people that's lost, it would probably be so addictive that they keep putting money into it, trying to win.
Right. Oh my God! Like,
you should do that. That's the idea. Hey, don't broadcast this. Somebody's gonna take this idea.
Right. I haven't really played too many video games, but I had my phase where I was playing Grand Theft Auto for a while, and I think everybody's done that at some point. But yeah, I was just thinking, you know, the money that you would the fake money that you would like rack up like in Grand Theft Auto. I remember looking at that, just being like, man, if I could convert that to real dollars, like,
yeah.
I'd be rolling.
Yeah. Yeah, that'd be an easy one. A race car game where or a racing game where you pay an entry fee that's equivalent to some real dollars, like maybe put $5 in your account and you can pay 50 cents to enter a race or something. And if you win, the winner gets like 60%, the second prize gets 30%, whatever, however it works. You get the winner get money, and then you accumulate money into your game account.
Which one was the, because I think I heard someone mention that like one of them, there's some kind of like conversion rate to like an actual
Eve. It's a game called Eve Online. It's like a space game, and they have it's the reason I found it was I was playing this farming simulator game, and you can grow things. You pay a certain amount of money, and you can buy seeds, and then you grow the seeds into crops, and then you can sell the crops for money more than you paid, and so you turn a profit.
Right.
And it's kind of a cool idea, but I was thinking that like you're playing against a computer, it like generates a list of things that you can sell. But I was thinking it'd be great if like other players would need certain things for their farm, and then they would post on some marketplace, and then you could sell your goods to them. And so there would be everything that you'd buy and sell would be between players. So I looked for a game that had like that kind of an economic simulation. That's where I found this Eve Online, and I told Sam about it, and he's been playing it ever since.
Nice.
Waiting for Doug to play.
Well,
Tell me,
you know, that'd be the ideal product to sell, right? To, you know what I mean? Take something that's not 100% tangible or real, you know what I mean? And get people to pay like real dollars for, you know, this
Yeah.
thing, you know, this idea.
yeah, it's
That's
called an
what's
app.
up. Yeah, yeah, exactly.
How authentic do you think the economics is in that game, Sam?
It's the market based. I mean, it's people, you know, there's in demand items and what do you call it? An oversupply. Like I go to a station and if I mine a bunch of material and I keep dumping it on this one station, the price goes down. I mean, how much I get for my stuff goes down because, like, from like say $1 million down to 300,000 game units, simply because it's market based and what do you call it? I'm flooding the market, the local market, with raw material.
So are the people that are buying on the market other players, or is the computer generating
Yes, of course.
orders?
No, they're other players.
It's all other
These are
players.
other real people.
So
Yeah.
everybody's who's selling is a player, and everybody who's buying is a player.
Correct. No, what? No, hold
that's
on.
great.
No, there's a lot of items that are. I mean, like especially military hardware. That, of course, NPCs.
Okay.
Game maker. In fact, I think most.
Gotta think of an idea for a cool app. That's how everybody's getting rich these days.
I don't know. Are people getting rich on apps? Like, how?
Well, I mean, maybe not.
They sell
maybe
them
not.
for $3 each or something, and you'd need like thousands of players to make a living, I would think.
Advertising too.
There's not many apps that really have that huge a following. I guess, yeah, the ones.
Well,
that
yeah,
do,
I mean, most people they'll download the free version because nobody wants to spend money, right? But then you'll see all those. If you get the free version, you get stuck seeing all those ads, which I'm guessing they must get something from the ad companies to allow them to do that.
Yeah.
But then if you go for the option and you say, well, I don't want to see these stupid ads, and then they just pay for it outright. So I'm guessing they get paid either way. I mean, maybe they're not getting rich. Maybe I shouldn't have used that term, but
yeah, there's another thing called in-game purchases. I'm not sure what that is. So there's quite a few ways that they can make money off of it.
Well, this farming game I'm playing now is like flooded with those in-game purchases. You can buy. There's all kinds of different currencies. There's coins, which is like money, but there's also these other diamonds that you can earn and spend on like certain things you have to buy with certain things. Like some things you can buy with coins, some things you need diamonds. There's another thing called florins, and there's other things. Anyway, occasionally they'll come up with like a chest of coins that you can buy for, like you'd spend up to $100 on different things. And you can buy energy, like you get a certain amount of energy every 3 minutes. You get 1 unit of energy, and then you need energy to do things in the game. So you can buy extra energy as well for real. So all these things that you do in the game, you have to wait for, or you have to earn, or you can just pay money for.
That's wild.
So,
yeah, speaking of the penny, because someone was mentioning the whole, I don't know how he started talking about it. One of the conversion rates was you get a penny for so many of something. And I don't know if this is true or not, but I heard that the U.S. is the only place where we even still have the penny anymore. I don't know if
they don't have them in Australia. Well,
they don't really.
Yeah, they got rid of pennies. Now it's 5 cents, even though prices are still can be marked in cents. Like say $2.32.
Yeah.
Whenever you pay for it, it always rounds to the next even 5. So $2.32, you'd pay $2.30. If it was $2.33, you'd pay $2.35.
Okay. I knew they did that in Canada, and right away, my first instinct was, like, no bullshit. I don't care if it's a penny. If it's mine, I'm entitled to it. But then I started thinking about it, and I don't know how they really distribute that money or whatever.
Well, they're still legal.
If the company
pennies.
just like pockets it. Yeah, but what I was thinking though is, so like just to print or just to manufacture a penny, right? Like
Yeah.
like I started thinking
Probably
about it,
costs
like
more than a
like
penny.
if like if somebody said, hey, let's open up a business, print, manufacturing pennies, and it's all legit. We'll get a license from the government or whatever. And I started thinking, how much money would it cost to print one penny, right?
Yeah.
Besides the labor and the machines and the copper or whatever metal they use. I was sitting there and I was thinking about it, and I'm like, it's got to cost more than a penny to print a penny, right?
Probably.
Like,
Probably does.
Yeah. So I started thinking about it in those terms, and I started researching it, and it's like, I don't know, it was saying something like that's one of the reasons why the US is like the only people one of the last ones, if not the only ones, who still use the penny, because it would be cheaper just to get rid of it and round up and
Or
put that money
essentially,
back into the.
that industry. I've looked into a little bit, not too much, but you're right. It costs more to mine and manufacture those little copper discs.
Right.
That's what it costs. And
I mean,
it's the same thing that we're subsidizing American farmers, though. I mean, what's the difference? If we're going to complain about pennies, we should also be complaining about subsidizing American farmers.
Exactly.
The problem in the U.S. I found with a lot of things is momentum. Like it's too big a country to change direction very quickly. It's so much momentum built up. So like even things like the metric system. When I was a kid, there was this talk of the U.S. is going metric, where everybody's going to change to metric. It's like in the 70s. And it never happened. So like everybody started learning metric in schools and everything, and then it never happened because there's just too much.
But that was more like a facade. That was what do you call it? It wasn't real. It was just like
no, they were going to do it. There's a plan.
Yeah, but it was what's called it. Their heart wasn't in it, man. I mean, you and I learned the metric system, but my mom didn't. She was way before that. I think
there was too much momentum on the other side to keep the status quo, the imperial system. That's why they couldn't get it through. There was too many people that said, no, we don't want to change. And that's what we were talking about, gun control and everything as well. It's the same thing. Like here, I told you about that massacre they had, and they kind of changed overnight. And, it's a lot smaller country, a lot easier to change things. And even like back, they used to use the pound system from the British imperial pound system, pound, sterling, pence, whatever. And they changed to decimal. I think that was only in the 80s. And I couldn't imagine that ever happening in the U.S. If the U.S. used pounds, they'd be using pounds forever.
No, they'd have to. I couldn't even picture if just all of a sudden, even like the speed limit, you know what I mean? If they were just like, yeah, from now on, everything's going to be in kilometers per hour instead of miles per hour. Like, people would probably freak out.
Well, for a long time, they still do it, but they'd had both. They'd have miles per hour in big letters, and then underneath it was kilometers per hour in smaller letters.
I mean, unless they said, they do. I think they do in some places.
Well, they
That
brought when
wouldn't
they were
be.
changing into metric, they did that on all the signs. They changed them over so they were both. But nobody ever looked at the kilometers because it was in small letters down at the bottom, and so nobody had any incentive to change.
No, if they had the right propaganda, and they said if you don't support the metric system, then you support terrorism, then maybe, like, because it's America we're talking about, so
America.
yeah, so
America. America.
if you're using inches and miles, that's that used to be an Arab. It doesn't even have to be true. Just that's
Yeah.
those are
could say
Islamic
terrorists use
fundamentalist
inches.
beliefs, and the bombs they used in 9/11. They were they used airplanes. They didn't use. Okay, well, I'm not going to get into that whole conspiracy thing, but that whole plan was carried out in inches and stuff like that. They'd be
Yeah.
so.
The Quran mentions miles and pounds. You could say.
Yeah, it's all
Yeah.
all
And
non-metric.
the Bible talks about meters.
Yup,
There you go. That's the way to sell it.
that's yeah.
The Bible
yeah.
says metric.
That's what it has to be. That's I don't know. I don't know. There's just a stubbornness in general that
Yeah, I found that a lot
I
of
don't-
different examples, especially since I've moved here to Australia, of the U.S. being unable to change in a lot of ways when really
yeah,
they need to.
it's so much easier to just call bullshit, even if it's not bull. Just laziness and just stuck in their ways and stuck in their path, and
Look how hard it is to get agreement on healthcare, and that's like essential. Here, it's an awesome system.
like
Everybody, it goes comes right out of your taxes every year. You pay a certain amount for Medicare. It's called Medicare here, but it's different than
Okay.
Medicare there. But anyway, yeah, everybody pays every year, and then it subsidizes. You can go to a doctor for a reasonable price. Still have to pay a little bit, but it's not.
We can't have
outrageous.
socialism in America.
no. Oh
Wait
God.
till
Just-
Bernie Sanders gets elected.
Yes. I mean, yeah, speaking of just like stubbornness and backwards mentality, like I remember when we had a president who was saying, tear down that wall, and now we have a president saying, let's build a
Build up that
wall. Like, what is, one way ticket to Crazy Town?
Well, maybe they could have just moved the wall. They could have saved money and moved that wall.
Yeah, I know.
Move that wall.
Move that wall.
Get them up against the wall.
Right. Oh, has some
We
Pink
haven't heard
Floyd
much
playing
from
in the
Jimmy.
background. Yeah,
Humpty Dumpty in the background.
right.
I actually have to go now.
No problem.
I have to go pick up my kids.
Okay, that's cool.
Understandable.
Otherwise, they're gonna be
Good,
sitting there at
good
school
chatting
all
with you.
alone.
Yeah,
okay.
Sorry, I showed up late to the party for
Oh well, we can do it
everyone.
again.
Yeah, we'll do
Definitely.
it again. Do it again.
Okay. Talk to you later.
All right, Gug, see ya.
All right,
Yeah.
see you
See
later,
you,
Doug.
God.
Bye. Well, I'm glad you
Now
could
the
make
cat's
it on.
away, the mice can play.
Yeah, I'm glad I figured it out. I had a lot of people talking in my ear at the same time too, just because I had to make a pit stop at my parents' house, and it was that whole my dad can't hear situation, and I have one person talking in my ear and another person saying what, and then all that stuff's being repeated, and I was just standing in the middle of it, and I'm like, oh, I'm about to be in two group conversations.
Yeah, it's tough. I got frustrated because I was I couldn't listen to what Doug and Sam were saying because I was trying to help you, and it got a little frustrating. But I'm glad everything worked out pretty good, actually. Um, so Sass, Pete is uh my mother's brother's kid.
Hmm. Cool.
Yep.
Yeah, I don't know if you guys ever met each other.
No, he showed me some of his notebook stuff, like his artwork, his math doodles and shit. I think.
Oh yeah, good
Oh,
memory. Yeah,
nice. Yeah.
and you guys are in the same movie together. I mean, I don't think you ever met. Maybe you did, but Pete was like, when we made the movie a long time ago, Sass. Pete had a small part in it. Man, I hope to transfer that video to video one day.
Oh, I want to see
Uh,
that.
yeah, that'll be. You guys did great jobs, man. I tell you.
I still remember my line. I jumped out of that tree, and I think it was just like a one line, like hiya, mister, what you up to? Like a
Yeah,
real Dennis the Menace like type of
yeah.
hiya. Like
Hey, Sass, do you remember seeing that part where Pete was in it?
I remember Dave
Okay,
putting a gun in his mouth.
okay. Yeah, there.
I want to man, I want to see this movie because
He hasn't.
I
Yeah, I
only
don't
know
think
of
he's
my
transferred
one.
it to digital yet.
What?
I don't think he's transferred it to digital yet.
Yeah, that's what I have to do. I have to transfer it to digital. Or I guess I could play it on the TV and screen shoot it. But yeah, ideally, the best quality would be transferring to digital. See, a lot of you guys probably never saw each other because I had a lot of people in different scenes where they never met. Especially Pete. I know that he never met everyone else, but I think Sash, you may have met all the other characters, and I don't think anyone may have met Pete. That's about it because I think I did the Pete thing on our own. So
Yeah, it was just us when we did it. I want to see it though. It's been like built up like all these years. Like
I know.
you could upload it to YouTube too, and I mean,
Yeah,
there's like a lot of like indie films and like home projects and stuff like that that people put on there, and
yeah, definitely. I'll do it. I got to get my butt in gear. Definitely.
I know I'd like to come up with a theme. Just I don't know, something I wouldn't mind making some YouTube videos of something like just something like even like 3 or 4 minutes long. You know, just like those people who they just want to get like their 6 minute YouTube fix and then just ADD off to the next thing.
Yeah,
Like, but I want it to be different but have the same theme so that I don't know, so it draws in kind of like a regular. I'll think of something.
yeah.
I'll think of something.
God, she's cute. This
You
one.
doing any photography lately?
Nope, I've taken a long break from photography. I probably haven't done hardly anything in about 3 or 4 weeks. So, I mean, because that's all I've done nonstop for almost 2 years. So I'm taking a break from it.
Hmm.
Yeah. Sass had a YouTube channels. A lot of he made a load of videos. Why don't you tell
Uh,
Yeah,
Pete?
but nobody watches.
on
That's all
what,
right.
if I may ask?
Just like it's hard to describe. Like my mom raised me Catholic, but I'm not really Catholic. But I am spiritually inclined. These videos that it's like over 12,000 videos, like spiritual self-help, spiritual awareness, um,
Cool.
anything spiritually related. Not necessarily, like I said, not religious, just spiritual. So it's like a lot of reincarnation shit. You know, anything like sort of related to that kind of stuff.
That sounds pretty sweet.
Yeah, I love
But
it.
it's just what do you call it? Just and the thing is, I made it for these people who I call the tricenters, people 300 years from now. I didn't really
Okay.
think
That's
like
cool.
contemporary. I just assumed that Google servers would keep a copy and somewhere like in a mountain vault, so that it would last through Armageddon and the next. They call it whatever you want to call it, like whenever we go through. Suppose in the next 50, 100 years, we're going to go through a lot of hell. You can call it Armageddon, you can call it something, whatever you want.
Isn't there gonna
Transformation,
be?
something.
I don't know when it is, but I heard someone saying that there's gonna be another ice age sometime, and
Yeah, we're in an
the,
interglacial here. I studied that when I was a kid. I think could be the next, maybe the next. I mean, if you watch the end of AI, that's a popular movie about, like actually uses that concept. They predict in the movie about within a couple thousand years, but I think it's further off. It's more like 5 or 10,000 years from now. It really depends. We are what's called an interglacial period, a time of natural warming, but actually we're supposedly headed into another glacial period pretty fairly soon. So unless we hold it off with the greenhouse, who knows? I mean, I don't know. It's hard for me to believe that we could change things that much. I mean, the British. There's a thing called climateprediction.net, which is the British thing that they're trying to use computer simulations to figure like study at home, but devoted to climate prediction.
okay.
And they're trying to figure out use climate models to predict the next 50 years. And they do most of the decent models predict a few degrees warming in the next 50 years based on human stuff. What do you call it? Greenhouse gases and that kind of stuff. So I guess, according to the models, we are affecting the global climate to the point where like I said, a few degrees in the next 50 years or something, which is quite significant if you think like the average temperature is like whatever around freezing, something like that. The average
Yeah.
the average full global temperature is something around freezing, and a few degrees warmer would be quite significant.
Yeah, I was hearing something too that was saying something along the lines of like there's just so many comets that just whiz by Earth, and like they just kind of happen not to hit us. And they say just by, I don't know, just by like rule of like probability, they're saying that basically it's gonna happen, but they just don't know when. Could be 100, could be 1,000, could be 1,000,000 years from now. But I I kind of basically like like to any kind of like doomsday like prophecy. I'm always the naysayer, being like, we're gonna be just fine, because I figure if we are, then it looks like I'm right and I know what I'm talking about. But if not, there's not going to be anybody to call me out on my bullshit, right? Because the world will be over. So But I do think about it though. Is it's one thing to say, well, I might not be here forever, the me that I know, but we don't really know what happens after. That's one thing to think about, but then to think about the whole species as a whole, or just I shouldn't say a species, just like the planet Earth, as we know it now, it's not going to be here forever. You know, even if no comets hit it, it'll get sucked into the sun or whatever, or eventually our sun will, I don't know, does whatever stars do when they burn out. And it's kind of
They say
freaky.
billions of years now, but this time scale about the life of the sun is so enormous compared to. Compared to our species on the planet, if our species only been on the planet a couple million years at most, then the sun's lifespan is like billions of years, and we're just really fractional.
Oh yeah, we're blink of an eye.
I programmed all that in your minds.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's all a program, you guys.
That's so the reality is that I'm basically just a brain sitting in a jar, right?
Oh no, you're
And I'm
just
just
zeros
plugged
and
into
ones.
Yeah, it's all just a computer simulation, like the Matrix, right?
That's right. And I created it. Met the madman.
I hope it's an n by n matrix. I hope it's a square matrix.
I hope it's a cube.
Then I can figure out where it is.
Are you teaching calculus or
No. No, I'm just taking a class for fun here. Yeah, so basically everyone in my class thinks I'm nuts because they just can't wait to get out of it. What kind of
class are you taking?
Right now I'm taking it's just calculus 1.
Oh, okay, so differential equations.
Yeah,
Cool.
derivatives and integrals, series summation.
It's cool. I'm not really into series. What do you call it? Infinite series, but I do like the concept of the integral and although you don't get into that, I think, till next semester or whatever. Are you in semester or quarter?
We're gonna be doing integration in this semester.
Okay.
Yeah.
Cool.
Our first so we're gonna have like 3 exams, and our first exam was actually a midterm, and it was on limits and derivatives, but it was like first derivative, second derivative, third derivative, up to like the nth derivative.
Right.
And I didn't know that. I was like, okay, so calculus 1 will probably be doing the first derivative and the first antiderivative, and maybe calc 2 will do the second derivative. But they were like, no, you're gonna do all that stuff. So it's like, oh, okay. See, I didn't know the order is. So I'll just give you a quick little background. This is how I got started. Basically, my friend Safraz was a math major. I say was because he graduated now, and he moved out to California. He gave me a bunch of his old books, and there was one book that was called a transition to advanced mathematics, and it had a lot of logic and set theory problems in there. And that was the stuff that like I really fell in love with. And I was like I was like this seems like something I could get into, that I could actually wrap my head around. So I was like, yeah, give me some more books. So he was just like, sure, I'm going to California. I'm not going to need them. And the last math class that I had taken in high school was, I think it was like the advanced algebra. I hadn't taken trigonometry yet, but basically like the last algebra you take before like trig and calculus. So when I was going through his books, I saw a book called Linear Algebra, and I'm thinking, okay, I left off at algebra. I thought linear algebra would be the next thing in the sequence. Had no idea that people don't usually take linear algebra until after Calc 3 and
Yeah,
differential
that's correct.
equations.
Typically, it's a
Yeah,
junior level class. Yeah.
right. So, and it had the word elementary too, right? So I see elementary linear algebra, and I'm like, oh, this is going to be a piece of cake. I'll just use this to preview. This will probably be like pre-algebra stuff. And then I start seeing all these matrices and everything. So right away I realize that, okay,
That's my
this
favorite
isn't
class, actually. Linear algebra is one of my favorite classes.
I I love
I think
I haven't taken I love it. I haven't taken a class yet, but I've watched just a ton of like YouTube videos on it, and a
well, you
bunch
got
of
the
those
book.
problems. Yeah.
Yeah,
So
yeah. No, I mean,
like
the
like
book
the
is like,
eigenvalues and
uh,
eigenvectors and
I
all that
can't.
cool stuff.
It's just, what do you call it? It's so Oh
Determinants
God,
and
I was gonna say, if there's a beautiful area of mathematics, it's certainly matrices and linear algebra. It's one of my favorite areas of mathematics. I would love to teach that if I was ever given a chance to teach. And the cool thing about that is that it shows up if you ever do, we call it systems theory. Systems theory is really based in linear algebra. So it has so much impact what do you call it, importance in engineering, especially when we're talking about systems. Is like the broad, what do you call it? Oh God, it's so hard.
oh
Like, but it's like a, what do you call it? A comprehensive. It takes mechanical engineering concepts that are common between mechanical engineering, electrical engineering, not really civil, but mechanical, electrical, things like dynamic, things like that.
okay.
And it can take the common concepts and find the commonalities, and it turns out the formal language to talk about those concepts is linear algebra. So it's really cool that something from mathematics that's so beautiful can be easily translated to engineering. So it's like I felt when I learned about systems, I kind of fell in love with the field because I really loved matrices and linear algebra when I was at Michigan State. So
I did too. I kept, I kept seeing him too in that the first book that my buddy gave me. I would see him pop up, and I was just like, yeah, there's this thing. It's just like a box with numbers. I don't know what it means or anything. So, and I didn't know what order stuff happened. So I I kind of figured out right away that linear algebra didn't come until later on, but I didn't really have any problems understanding it, except for when I would see like trig functions, like when I would see, sine of x and cosine of I was like, I don't know what this stuff is, like the polynomials,
the
like
thing is, the
weren't a big
notation is so
deal.
important. Really, they should have, instead of cosine or sine x, cosine x, they should be using theta. because so that you know that should be an angle, you know. And
Right.
what we call terminology is so badly taught sometimes because it's not made intuitive. It's really should be, it's teacher dependent. If they can't make it intuitive, they're not teaching it right, and they need to use like appropriate variables. Like instead of sine x, it'd be sine theta. You know, that should be standard. I'm not trying to criticize you. I'm trying to criticize how badly it's taught. You know. But,
Oh no, I agree. You know what? I would always ask, like, I'd ask my buddy, or not really ask, but I would just kind of make a general statement. I'd say, like, I'm surprised they don't teach a math class or have a math class that's just about notation, where they have all these sets of problems, and you'd be like, listen, you don't even have to solve any of these math problems, but just just tell me, since mathematics is supposed to be a language, right? You know, a descriptive language that describes something. They should be like, shouldn't you know what all this notation means before you start doing the problems? So I always thought that was just something strange. Like that there wasn't, you know, you'd think anytime you open a math book, you know how sometimes you'll open it and there'll be like a little index that'll tell you like trig identities, or it'll just have like a quick reference to like derivatives and antiderivatives. And I would see that and I'm like, okay, that's cool, but why don't they just have like the same thing but like an index like with every symbol? Like with engineering, like how you were talking about like engineering and stuff. When somebody drafts up some blueprints, you notice how there's always like a legend off to the side, and
right, right,
it tells you what every symbol means. That way you don't have to
right.
keep writing out the word, and you can just look at it. And I always thought it was kind of weird that math didn't have a little legend off to the side. You just learned a little bit more and a little bit more as you went along. So, yeah, that's just something I always found kind of peculiar.
I guess. Is it true, Demi? Are you still here?
Yeah, I'm still here. I probably should get going. We
Okay.
could wrap this up and continue it next time.
Yeah.
All right. Cool.
Okay.
All right,
Yeah,
whatever works.
yeah, it was a lot of fun. I mean, if you guys want to keep going, you can. I think it's just, you know, you
No,
got.
no, no. All right, that's all right.
Okay.
Oh, I'm good. We probably start boring you to death with the algebra stuff, huh?
Oh no, it was fine. It's just I usually eat around this time, so and I usually get ready for bed and for like winding down because I got to work tomorrow. So usually
Gotcha.
by 12:30 is a good cutoff time for me.
Yeah, I think it's probably a pretty good time for me here too.
Okay.
I haven't had a chance to sit down. I don't know. Once I sit, I won't want to move for a little bit.
Yeah, it was great to get like 4 people on, man. That's awesome because Doug's in Australia, Sass is in Florida, and I'm in Lansing, Michigan, and you're in
Yeah.
Michigan too, in a different city.
Yeah.
Shit, now I'm doxed myself. People are gonna come after me. I gotta like buy some guns.
Just hide.
I doxed myself. Ah!
Just hide. Just hide.
They're good.
It's all good. I got your back, cuz.
Thank you.
Alrighty, I'll talk to you guys later.
Yeah, man, it was great hanging out with you guys. Yeah, awesome. Thank you.
Awesome. All right. Let's see if
Okay. Bye, Sass.
All right.
All
Bye.
right.
Bye, Pete.
Nice meeting you, Pete. Nice meeting you, Pete.
He may have taken off. I'll speak for him. You too, Sass. Nice meeting you.
Yeah. Good night. Bye. It was nice meeting you.
Okay.
I started hanging up, and then
Okay.
it didn't hang up, and then I thought I hung up, and then I heard talking, and I was like, wait, am I still on here? So
Okay.
yeah, so you guys might hear me mumbling and making noise and stuff after I say goodbye if I don't figure out how to hang up right away.
Okay. No problem. Yeah.
All right.
Okay.
Take
Bye.
two. All right, bye.
Bye.